The next story here is something that, if you've been paying any attention to what's going on in residential real estate markets, is reason for concern. Certainly, when interest rates started going up, people started to wonder, will that have an effect on markets? Well, the idea, I think, is yeah, it has. We're starting to see in some of the bigger markets, more expensive markets in Canada, like Toronto and Vancouver, sales actually beginning to go down, volume of sales going down. So, what does this all mean? And I guess begs the question, should your ultimate goal still be to own property? Is that, given the fact of what's going on now, still a good idea or not? Christopher Alexander is president of Remax Canada. He's on the line right now. Mr. Alexander, thanks for your time this afternoon.
Oh, thanks very much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking around, and Montreal has always sort of been in a situation where, for the longest time, we kept looking at places like Toronto and Vancouver and thinking, wow, we got a pretty good deal here. And then, of course, we got caught up when prices started to go up. It turned very much into a seller's market. And here we are now with mortgage rates going up because interest rates are going up, and wondering what's going on here and how long is that sustainable?
Well, the big story really right now is the national cool down. I mean, outside of Alberta, prices have really started to calm down, which is kind of ironic because for the first part of the year, this is a market that a lot of Canadians were hoping for. The difference now is that we had an unprecedented almost 2 years straight run of market craziness where it felt like there were multiple offers on almost every single property. And I find it's fascinating how quickly we forget that that's just not normal. And what we're experiencing now is a return to normal. The pace is a lot more manageable, especially if you're a buyer. Yes, buying power has been diminished by rate increases, but overall, the market fundamentals are still really strong. Just this challenging thing is that there's been such consistent rate hikes, and the market hasn't really had a chance to catch its breath and adjust.
Can I ask a question with respect to volume? And I see that less houses are actually up for sale. Maybe buyers are waiting for markets to come back. That doesn't necessarily imply that prices are going down, does it?
Not always. Most of the time when we've seen a drop in sales, it can be correlated, or at least recently in most of the country, it was correlated to low inventory. But this time around, we're seeing a correlation with fall in sale prices, specifically in Ontario and British Columbia.
Okay, and with respect to rental, I asked the question off the top, should home ownership be, that kind of thing that becomes your ultimate goal? Yet I keep reading now with markets so tight, and I don't know if this is the same in Canada. I know this is happening in the U.S., for example. We're seeing rents actually increase at a faster pace than homes are at the same time.
Yeah, well, typically whenever there's uncertainty in the purchasing market or the resale market, you have people turn to rentals. And I think right now, the unfortunate part is that there's still tight inventory, and it's very difficult to compete in the rental market for most of the country.
So if you're a property owner, then are you making your money back now by hiking rents? And how long is that likely to stay in place?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the market you're in, obviously, but I can see the rental market continuing to be competitive as long as property values are high, especially in metro markets like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, where they're urban centers and attract a lot of the new Canadians that we're getting in record numbers. So I can see that segment staying strong for a long time.
Yeah, I will bring up one other thing. I saw this, and I remember seeing a story in this a while ago. The idea now, and again, this is a U.S. trend. I wonder if this is actually happening here yet, where you have major companies or maybe investment funds deciding to walk into a market and buy homes up like in one fell swoop, like maybe a new development, and then keep those homes, hoping they appreciate it, and in the interim rent them out. It's happening in the U.S., I think, like it's never happened before. Is it something to consider? Has it been happening here as well?
Well, 1 in 4 homes in the U.S. last year were bought by that style of business. And there's been some announcements in recent months that companies like BlackRock are going to try to take that on in Canada. I think it's really important to look at our market dynamics and the differences between the U.S. and Canada. Overall, our average selling price is much higher here in Canada, and a lot of the conglomerate purchases are done in price points below $450,000. So I think it's going to look a lot different in Canada. But the other thing to point out, too, is that those 1 in 4 homes that are bought by conglomerates, we'll call them, turn around and end up being sold as well. So It's not like they're just grabbing inventory and keeping it. I mean, a lot of them do, but there's also many that turn around to flip as well.
I was going to say that's a dangerous game, given the fact that the market's been so weird, for, as you called it, crazy for the past couple of years. If you're in it now, I would guess you better be in it for the long haul, because it's just as likely to go down as it has gone up.
Well, real estate's always been a long haul investment strategy. And, my belief has always been, if you're buying your home to live in it, the price today usually doesn't matter as much, especially if you're going to be in it for 7 to 10 years. But if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, it's very rare you can buy a home and flip it quickly unless you're doing massive improvements for an undervalued purchase. So my advice is always, if you're buying for investment in real estate, keep it as long as you can.
Yeah, though, of course, here over the past couple of years, people are snapping stuff up thinking they could keep, hang on to it for 6 months or maybe even a year and then make themselves, pretty hefty profit. But I think those days are coming to an end. Can I ask you to comment on the one thing here you did mention in the piece I read, which was the suggestion that, and I'm quoting, a perfect storm could be on the horizon post-2024. What do you mean by that?
So what we're hearing right now at the street level from consumers is that buyers want to buy, but they're waiting for the bottom. And so that's one piece. We're also hearing from a lot of different economists that if the Bank of Canada continues to increase rates, there will be a recession, to which rates will eventually decrease. And where I'm concerned is that if you have sideline buyers that want to get into the market but are holding off in hopes of getting the best deal they can, plus a drop in rates and the mass immigration we're having, you could have a perfect storm for more market insanity in the near future.
Yeah, we're not building enough homes, are we, to satisfy the need, in fact?
Well, we don't have the people to keep up with it. I mean, you've got a labor shortage that is only beginning to show signs of stress, that we have almost 20,000 tradespeople that are going to start to retire in the next 24 months. And I mean, if you're trying to get a contractor to do any kind of work right now, it's next to impossible. And that is going to put a lot of pressure on prices as well, because those marquee homes that are showstoppers are continuing to sell quite quickly. And I think it's going to compound all the different factors on top of, potential drop in rates towards the end of next year.
Are you seeing that in the cards as far as rates go? So we know the Bank of Canada has been pretty aggressive in this fight against inflation. How long do you think that continues? What do they need to see for that to stop?
Get inflation under control to start, I think, is probably what they're hoping for. I'm hopeful that there's probably only going to be one, maybe two more increases. A lot of the bankers that I speak to, they are predicting one more between 50 and 75 basis points sometime in the fall. But I think a lot of it's going to depend on what inflation numbers look like for the balance of the year.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with just one question. I saw today we had StatsCan release the Canadian employment numbers, and at the same time, the U.S. Fed releases theirs. Jobs in the U.S. more than doubled expectations today, so very, very strong. Our job numbers were actually down. Are we going two different ways here, or is this just them catching up to us?
It's hard to say. I think it's hard to say, but it's what's interesting though is that in the service sector, restaurants, hotels, the airports, for example, like they are in desperate need of workers in Canada. We don't seem to be attracting them to those sectors. So that's something I'm really watching closely, but it's really too early to tell at this point.
Okay. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.